Hello everyone. For this week's Let's Get Arty prompt in the Facebook group, the Mixed Media Emporium, I've decided to dig out a stamp set that you can clearly see I have never used. One of these stamp sets that you get with magazines, but I've decided I'd quite like to use this floral piece here and maybe the birds as well. So I'm just going to pull those out. I'm going to be working on a piece of watercolour Cardi paper, KHADI, and this measures, let's have a look, 8 1/4 by 6, just under 6 inches, and I'm going to cut this in half. Now this Cardi paper has got a smooth side and a textured side. I'm going to attempt to do my pattern on the textured side just because I like that better, so I'm just going to chop this down the middle. As you can see, I've cut my Cardi paper in half, so I've now got 2 sheets that measure just under 6 inches, probably 5 7/8 by 4 1/8, and I'm going to use this one here just because I've got a bit of wrinkling going on at the edges on that one there. And which direction do I want to use my paper? Let's grab the stamp. I think I'm going to use it in portrait orientation, and I'm going to be using my Tim Holtz Tonic Studio stamping platform just because my paper is textured, so I might need to go over this more than once. Now I want my design to go in the top right hand corner. So I've got my my platform set on clear. You've got a clear option and a rubber option for rubber stamps. So I'm just going to press that down, and I've decided that I'm going to use embossing powder with this. So I've got my embossing stamping pad, and I'm just going to add some ink, and I'm going to use white embossing powder for this, but I might need to stamp this a couple of times, as I've said, just because this Cardi paper is textured on the side that I've decided to use it on. So we'll give this a good press like that. I'm sorry if the camera is wobbling. You need to press quite hard with this. If you were using smooth cardstock, you would be fine to just use, you know, one of the regular stamping blocks. But because my paper is textured, this is the route I've decided to go down. And I'm just going to stamp this one more time. So 3 impressions with the embossing powder. Let's take this out of the platform and apply some embossing powder. Let me just move that out of the way for the time being. I've got a folded over piece of paper just to catch the excess so that I can easily pour the powder that I don't need back into the jar. So let's just add this. And because it's white I'm using, you're not really going to be able to see this. If I tilt it, can you see that gorgeous design? So before I do anything, let me just pour this back into the jar. Because I'm so clumsy, I'm bound to knock it over. There we are. And then I'm just going to use my heat tool just to heat set this. So there we have it. If I hold this up to the light, I don't know whether you can see the design that I've got going on. That's really pretty. I do want to add something at the bottom as well. And I might use the same stamp. Let's have a look. Let's bring this back. And I'm thinking that I can maybe use it in a couple of different places. Let's have a look. I can maybe have it here. I don't know whether you can see that, but I am just going to position my stamp. How do I want to do this? Maybe here. And have this coming up the right hand side. There we go. And again, I'm just going to stamp this 3 times as well. So if I hold this up to the light, can you see my design? So of course I need to add some colour to bring this to life. I'm going to do that using some Distress Oxide inks, and I've got 3 colours. I've got Speckled Egg, Iced Spruce and Bundled Sage. I'm just going to add a couple of dabs of this onto this parchment paper. and spritz it with some water and just dip my cardstock in. So we've got a grey, a duck egg blue, and this gorgeous sage green. What have I done with my water bottle? Here we are. So let's move that out of the way for a second. Just spritz this with water. Lift my sleeves up so that I don't end up in a horrible mess. And I'm just going to twizzle this around. And hopefully you'll be able to see my design a lot more clearly once I've done this. So I'm just going to give this a quick dry with my heat tool. That is looking so pretty. I don't know whether you can see the variations of the colour. I'd quite like to add some more of the speckled egg. So now that this is dry, I'm just going to add a few more dabs of the speckled egg. I don't want it to be too speckledy, so I'm just going to add some water. I can spread this around with my finger as I want to as well, and I'm just going to heat set this as well. That is so pretty. We've got a really nice mottled background. I love those colours together. That works beautifully for me. So I just want to add some more stamping to my background. I'm going to use my script stamp from the entomology set from Tim Holtz, Stampers Anonymous. You can see that I try to clean mine with acetone. Don't do that because I've removed the design from the front of the stamp. It doesn't matter because this is the side we need to use. I'm just showing you that that's what happens if you try to clean your stamp. And I think I'm going to do this with do I want to do it with ice spruce or frayed burlap? I think I'll do it with frayed burlap. I don't want this to go everywhere, so I'm just going to stamp randomly. You see, I like how that looks. Not too much. And I want to use another stamp that I haven't used before. This is a Kaisercraft stamp, and this is kind of a grid. Can you see that there? And I'm going to use some Memento ink and espresso truffle to do this. And again, I want this to design to be a little bit random. I want a bit at the top and on the sides, like that, and some down here as well. Just a tad. I like that. I think that's enough detail for the look that I'm going for. Isn't that beautiful? Now, next up, I want to use my Neocolor 2s. These are water-soluble oil pastels. And what colours do I want to use? I think I want to use this fuchsia colour here. I've got these two colours here. This is olive fonts and this one here is raw umber. But what I want to do is just add some of this on the leaves. Let's add some details here on the leaves. And again, the embossing will act as a resist, so we can just spread that around, just to add a little bit of colour. You see, that's really lovely. And I'll do the same down here. So that's a leaf. And I can see a leaf here as well. The hardest thing is seeing sort of what your design is. That looks like a leaf to me as well. So let's add some more green here. And we can add some pink to the flowers. That's another leaf. You don't have to be too exact with this. And let's add some lovely pink to the flowers. Let's get rid of that. In fact, I'll use a different finger just so that I don't end up making a mess. I'm not adding much here. Just enough to add a little touch of colour. That looks so pretty. And I'll keep going with this. So a real mixed media design here, which I haven't done for quite a while, but I just fancied getting some of my supplies that I haven't perhaps used for a while out. Of course, you can improvise. You could use watercolours if you don't have the same supplies as me. You know, at the end of the day, use what you have. You could even use, you know, coloured pencils or water-soluble felt tip pens. Use what you have. Now, I was going to use this stamp here to add my focal image, so my bird would have gone here, something like this. But I've decided to pull out one of the designs from this little Your Creative Studio booklet. I unboxed this a couple of days ago. There are just so many wonderful designs, and in fact, what I'll do is I'll pull one of each out, and we can see which one is going to work best with the birds. I think the birds are going to be absolutely gorgeous as a focal image for our design. I've got this one here which has just fallen out, so I'm going to need to play around with these and just have a look and see which one is going to work best. I think any of these designs would be absolutely gorgeous, but I'm going to go with this one here. I've tried them all out. I mean, they're all beautiful, but it's the fact that the birds' tails are cut off that's putting me off, whereas I really like this butterfly. So I want to decide whether I want to mount it on anything and what I want to do next. So I've decided I want to definitely use this as my focal image, and I want to mount it on a piece of burlap. I've got this beautiful duck egg blue here, and that would work, but I think I'm going to use this sage green just because I think tonally wise it looks better, or just more pleasing to me. So I'm just going to cut myself a little piece of this out. I do want to mount this though onto a piece of thin cardstock just so that it's got a bit more stability, because I would like to stitch around the edges once I've glued this down. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. So I'll just stick this down with a glue stick. I've cut my piece of burlap, so I'm really happy with that, but I do want to just ink around the edges of my card first. In fact, actually, I'm wondering whether I should distress it as well. Let's do it with these scissors here. I'm going to distress this. Just like this, and then ink it, which will just give it more of a raggedy edge. I'll do this over my bin though, because as you can see, it makes a bit of a mess. So here we are, that looks better in my eyes, and I'm just going to add a small amount of glue just to the centre, just to hold this in place, and I'm going to take this off to my sewing machine. I'm really glad I did this, and I don't know whether you can see, I've also used a zigzag stitch, which wasn't intentional. I just forgot or didn't bother to check to see what my setting was, but I love it. It's really raggedy, and I like that. Let me just chop off these little bits here, but let me show you what that looks like. I think that adds so much texture, grunges it up a bit as well. Now, do I want to grunge around the edge? Because what I've decided to do, I'm going to mount it onto a piece of cardstock, patterned cardstock. This is from a really old paper pad. Let me see if I can find it. It's an old one from the works here in the UK, and it's this one here. So this is the classic vintage paper stack, £3 from the works. I've got no idea whether they sell this anymore. Now, do I want to grunge around the edge of this as well? I think I do. So I'm just going to do the same technique. I'm just going to go over the edge with my scissors and then ink it up with my frayed burlap distress ink. You can see I've inked up the edges of both of my papers, and I'm just going to glue this down. I'm going to use my fabric glue. This is my Collal glue that I've got decanted into one of these Sugar Bell bottles, and I think I want it to go this way up. Whoops, I nearly glued my paper on upside down. There we have it. So let's just make sure that we've got that stuck. And then I'm just going to add my focal image. That's beautiful. I love it. And again, I'm just going to add my Collal fabric glue to the edge of this as well. Here is my finished project. Now I decided to take it off to the sewing machine again. As you can see, tried to add some stitching. Now it got as far as the embossing, and then my sewing machine threw its toys out of the pram and it just did not like the embossing at all. But you know, once I'd started I couldn't stop. But I really like the fact that we've got no thread here, we've just got the holes, but it adds a really nice border and some texture. So what am I going to do with this would make the most wonderful card topper. You could make a whole bunch of these, but I'm going to stick this in my journal. Now I've had a quick look and I did find a page that was big enough to house this. I think it was this page here, so I'm just going to glue this down. It just about fits with a little bit of that craft cardstock showing in the background, but looks really pretty opposite this little envelope here. So that's where mine is going to go. Just absolutely lovely. But you know, I hope this has given you some ideas as to how to use your stamps, dig out your distress inks and all of that kind of thing. So if you've enjoyed today's video, as always, I'd really appreciate a thumbs up. Do let me know what you think in the comments below. If you would like to take part in our prompts and challenges, I'll leave the link to the Facebook group, the Mixed Media Emporium, in the description box below. But, you know, for the time being, thanks for watching. Take care, everyone, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye for now.